Hey guys, it's Mike here, and in this video, I'm going to be presenting you with my own alternate ending for the Goku Black arc of Dragon Ball Super. This ending will not completely redo what was done, but rather makes one small tweak that I believe would have provided a far more satisfying ending, and bring the story of Trunks full circle. That change would be that instead of Trunks and Mai going to a new timeline that Whis created, they would instead go to the original timeline, which most fans know as Cell's timeline. So for context here, originally there was one timeline in Dragon Ball. In this timeline, all of the same events from the main timeline transpired up to the point of when Frieza and King Cold touched down on Earth. This is when Goku arrived using his instant transmission to fight the two villains, which I explained in this video here. Now the reason why Goku did this instead of Trunks is because this took place before time travel was first created by Bulma. And as a result, there was no Trunks to interfere with history and defeat them. Now, sometime after this, Goku would go on to contract the heart virus and die, leaving the world in a vulnerable state. Soon after, the androids would attack and kill all the Z fighters except for Gohan. This leads into the story of the original future Trunks, who went back in time to a timeline that we never saw in the story. Once he was there, he helped to save Goku with the heart virus medication, as well as his timeline from the androids. He would then return to the original timeline and defeat the original androids there. All seemed well at first, however this Trunks was unaware of the existence of Cell, because he hadn't been born yet. As a result, when Cell emerged from his pod, he was able to kill the original Trunks and steal his time machine. He then traveled back in time to a year before Trunks arrived, which allowed him to create yet another timeline, which we all know is the main timeline. And he additionally created the Future Trunks or History of Trunks timeline, because the knowledge that Future Trunks gained of Cell in the past affected the future of his world, which led to him growing stronger and defeating his version of Cell. But even then, things would turn grim for his timeline, with the events we see in Dragon Ball Super, where Trunks faced Goku Black, who eventually merged with Zamasu, transcended reality, and caused the erasure of his entire timeline. This brings us back to the ending of the Goku Black arc. When Trunks and Mai were mourning over the death of their world, Whis told them that he could go and speak to the Beerus of their world before his death, which would allow him to erase Zamasu and create a whole new timeline with a brighter future. However, this solution was totally unnecessary because they could have simply traveled to the original timeline, which already existed and was completely undefended. Trunks and everyone knew that this reality existed, and that without someone there to protect it, it would have a dark future of its own. So realistically, Bulma or someone else should have just spoken up and said that violating the laws of time wasn't needed, and that Trunks could go to that timeline instead. And they even had Cell's time machine in case they needed the exact coordinates. That was a big plot point that never actually had any payoff, so making this change would have given a real reason for it to exist in the first place. Beyond that, making this change would have fulfilled the same desires of the characters. Trunks and Mai would have been reunited with their friends and family. They would have been able to stop Zamasu's plan in that world, and the original Bulma would have been given her son back. Sure, none of these people are the same versions they knew, but the same could be said for the new timeline that they created. There also wouldn't be two Trunkses there to make things awkward, but there would be two Mais. Trunks is a lucky man. And considering that this would be the original timeline for the Dragon Ball world, which was never resolved in Z or Super, it would be a more respectful conclusion, as it would bring hope to the future of the world that started it all. After that, there are a ton of possibilities of what could happen. During his trips to the past, Trunks learned of a number of things that could help hhis situation, such as the existence of the Namekians, Super Dragon Balls, and various gods. If he and Bulma worked together, they could contact New Namek, or somehow collect the Super Dragon Balls, and then use them to bring back the original Z fighters. Or he could even use the Super Dragon Balls to wish back his own timeline, which I guess no one thought of, for some reason. All of this would have led to a far more satisfying conclusion than what we got. Now honestly, if I had the chance, I would have totally scrapped the original ending. The fact that the world Trunks fought to save and effectively his sole purpose in existing was consumed and then erased is one of the worst endings I could have ever imagined. Trunks was given the perfect conclusion to his story at the end of the Cell arc. So Toriyama going and effectively undoing all of that was simply disrespectful to the very character he created. But with that being said, I think this small tweak would have drastically improved the ending that we got. So at least we could take solace in the fact that the original timeline would get a better conclusion. So what do you guys think about this alternate ending? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this content, you can help support LSM on Patreon, a link to which is down below in the description. Make sure to subscribe and enable all notifications, so you can stay up to date with all of my videos. Thanks for watching, and make sure to stick around, because there's a lot more to come in the future.
Yeah, and you better subscribe.